Well, I'm on break, so I might as well have a look. See what this archive really has on it. Oh, errant engineers. Security alert. Well, let's see if we can get past that. Displaying case file for errant engineers. Well, let's see what they think we did. In 2147, during the war between the Space Mining Corporation and the United Earth League, a UEL prison ship was destroyed in the Navaris dust cloud. The surviving prisoners, Kyle, Titan, Lewis, Relu, and Jack, Abattrel, soon discovered they were unable to die. Investigation led them to a freelance science vessel, which was using the dust cloud to fuel its experimental consciousness transference device. The device left all but one crew member, Martin Noble Claw, deceased, while enabling the 4 dust cloud survivors to avoid death by transferring into rapidly produced clone bodies. After leaving the ship behind and breaking through a UEL blockade in the system, the 4 errant engineers discovered an ancient artifact that killed all the crew aboard a civilian starport. Contacted by the SMC's Secret Service, Red Shadow, the group took the artifacts to the flagship of Admiral Angler, the SMC Destiny 2. The UEL briefly stole the artifact, enabling them to sabotage the Destiny and kidnap its crew. Files on the Destiny revealed to the group that Angler has hired 3 freelance science ships to study the artifact, and they were searching for a way to nullify it. Prisoners were experimented on in an effort to make a human whose DNA could be used to destroy the organic components in the artifact. Kyle and Martin set off to rescue Angler, but found him on the brink of death. He revealed to Kyle that Lewis was the sole survivor of Red Shadow's experiments and could destroy the artifact. He's always a special boy. He also revealed that Kyle was a sleeper agent with false memories, who had been sent here to retrieve Lewis after escape confinement on the Destiny. The group proceeded to an artifact research base, where more artifacts had been reproduced from the corpses of the staff. Using the station's equipment, the engineers tracked down the location of the Destiny's kidnapped scientists, who would be able to help them synthesize a weapon from Lewis's DNA. This led them to Memory Station Alpha, a UEL facility that was experimenting with copying and transferring memories. All the Destiny scientists have been subjected to the experiment and killed. Martin was chosen to download all the scientists' memories into his own mind. Nothing could go wrong with that. From this, he was able to create a weapon from Lewis's DNA and destroy the artifacts in the research base. After intercepting a transmission, the crew set off to find a UFO, built as a storage barge for the artifacts by the artifact's ancient creators. They discovered that the hole blown in the top of the UFO was how the original artifact had been released. Upon destroying the UFO, the engineers returned to Earth. There they met SMC Admiral Warlith, who imprisoned them for being a potential threat to his unknown schemes. After escaping the prison in 2151, the group were hired by Red Shadow to bring Warlith, who had evidently gone rogue, to justice. They discovered a map that led them to suspiciously personal locations. On this journey, Jack discovered that the SMC had killed his family, who had been smuggling for the UEL, and avenged them by destroying SMC Valiant. This caused a schism between him and Kyle. Martin began to realize that one of the scientists in his head, Dr. Menos, was slowly trying to take control of his body. Kyle learned that he was Admiral Angler's father, having survived the destruction of the SMC Titan 1 in 2108 and has been kept in stasis, then reprogrammed as a sleeper agent with no memory of his past. After Red Shadow urged the crew to travel to the 4th location on the map, the group was able to use a Veris incorporated supercomputer to unlock hidden map locations, namely the planetary defense stations for the SMC worlds. Then the crew was directed to infiltrate Warlith's office on the SMC HQ, which turned out to be a trap. Warlith had actually been in charge of Red Shadow since Angler's death. Angler has mistrusted him for a while and concealed the locations of the defense centers within a map that was designed to offer closure to his father. Warlith planned to attack the Eden Defense Center as part of a plot to give Red Shadow emergency power over the SMC. The engineers killed Warlith and stopped his plans. The UEL and the SMC both helped to destroy Warlith's flagship, the Raritanium, cheap copy, in an effort to win over the engineers. The UEL offered Martin the chance to be free of Menos, so he and Jack joined the faction. Kyle and Lewis, meanwhile, joined the SMC. Over the next few months, the UEL betrayed Martin and strengthened Menos's control over his body. Menos eventually gained full control and used Martin to seize command of the UEL by assassinating its directors. The war became more brutal due to Menos' influence, and the SMC eventually locked its opponent into a final battle. Kyle and Lewis confronted Martin and Jack in the UEL flagship. Gaining partial control of his body, Martin forced Menos to self-destruct the flagship. The blast disrupted his mind and blocked Menos out permanently. In the aftermath, the group was rescued by the SMC Mule under command of Warlith's son, Quinton. Kyle decided to relinquish his ties to the SMC, saying that his friends will always come before factions. The four engineers, now together again, fled in a shuttle that was immediately struck by a piece of debris. The shuttle crashed on a small and dense world, as yet uncharted. The engineers named this world Atmos. On Atmos, the group discovered an ancient facility deep underground, built by the precursor species to humanity, the Terrans. Inside, they detected a life form frozen in the ice. They believed that this was a surviving Terran. Quinton Warlith joined the crew after his ship was damaged entering the Atmos system. It was clear that there was a Terran barrier preventing safe travel in and out of the system. When this barrier was disabled, the curiosity of external forces was turned to Atmos. The SMC saw Atmos as a valuable material possession, while other factions had more fanatic reasons. The paramilitary organization, SCAR, believed that Atmos was a true origin planet of the Terrans, which opposed most religions and scholars that contended the Terran homeworld had been ancient Earth. While trying to help the group thaw out the Terran ice, Quinton was accidentally killed and became a clone. However, his mind was not transferred into this new body, and the revelation that he was a copy began to break him. He fled the planet after finding out the engineers had killed his father. Happy Armistice Day. The engineers continued to secure their planet against external parties. They retrieved their old flagship, the Shadow Interceptor, from the old UEL-controlled station. However, this station had been occupied by fanatic followers of Menos, and a copy of Menos' mind that had been stored onto the Interceptor was downloaded into Kyle's brain. Menos revealed to the group that he was the one who first found the artifact. He interpreted their malign influence on his mind as visions of the future. He believed that cloning technology would lead to the galaxy's downfall and help to create the UEL as a force to prevent this future. However, he did not only lose control of the UEL, but his research on the artifacts ironically spurred the UEL and later the SMC to research cloning and consciousness transference technology. He finally admitted his failure and tried to kill the engineers out of spite by crashing the space station. Kyle convinced Menos to leave his mind and finally terminate himself. Back in orbit of Atmos, the group successfully repelled the task force from the CEOI Empire, but could not defeat the SMC. They retreated to the planet's surface. The SMC and SCAR vied for control of the planet, but Quinton sent them up for mutual destruction so he could return to thaw out the ice. With the invaders gone, the ice was thawed. It turned out that frozen within the ice was not a Terran, but a type of artificial virus that began devouring the planet and converting it into a desert. This was a Terran failsafe feature, used to wipe away any traces of Terran experiments on the planet. Quinton realized that the Atmos system was populated by small and dense worlds because it was a testing site for a Terran density manipulation weapon. Thawing out the ice triggered a recall signal, which would eventually lead the weapon back home. After Quinton was killed again, when his research outpost collapsed, the cloning procedure faltered. Decades of trauma from his father, personal failure, and abuse from the engineers pushed him to the edge. He once again fled the planet, now heading for a secret SMC cloning facility, which he planned to use for his own ends. After breaking the SMC blockade around Atmos, the engineers traveled to the cloning facility. Inside, they discovered that the SMC was creating an army of clone soldiers. Clone army? Further into the facility, they found the original cloning device from Martin's freelance science ship. They realized that their minds were actually stored on this machine, and their clone bodies were simply transmitters and receivers. Intent on destroying the facility, the engineers had no choice but to download their minds onto the current clone bodies, making them mortal. After destroying the facility, Kyle was confronted by Quinton, who revealed how broken he was and wished to inflict the same pain on Kyle. Martin flushed Quinton into space like a fat dookie. In the aftermath, Kyle sent a message to the SMC, warning them not to come after the engineers. The SMC realized that appeasing the engineers was in its better interest and pardoned them. When the engineers realized their adventure was over, they began considering what they would each do next. Kyle was overwhelmed by emotions, convincing the others to stay together. With the Terran density manipulation weapon still due to arrive, the engineers agreed to stay at Atmos and wait for it, so they could ensure that it does not fall into the wrong hands. The century is now concluded. Erased.
It's treason then.